Do you feel the same way? The first time I watched Dances with Wolves in the theatre, I was truly amazed at how the film completely captivated my soul. At that moment, like many others, I longed to become a brave warrior like Dunbar. The film haunted me for many years, and even now, I still want to watch it again and again. And what I didn't know was that the work that had haunted me turned out to be a monumental piece that brought home 7 Academy Awards from Best Picture to Best Director and became one of the greatest victories in Hollywood history. But behind that glory were secrets that few dared to tell. A set larger than a whole state where 500 buffaloes worked tirelessly every day. Intense confrontations with the natives, once almost forcing the entire crew to flee in the middle of the night. And the most horrifying part, Graham Greene Kickingbird, had to wear a prosthetic that smelled so bad that many actors just standing nearby wanted to stop breathing. Yet he had to endure it for hours in the heat of over 100 degrees F. Today we will open the darkest and strangest backstage doors of Dances with Wolves. 20. The secret behind the dangerous buffalo scene. If you are one of those who love the movie Dances with Wolves, like I do, you probably remember the incredible buffalo hunt scene with over 500 buffalo charging across the vast plains. Every time I re-watch that scene, I am always amazed by the impressive angles that make the audience feel the power and wild beauty of nature. But few know that to capture that scene, the film crew had to face countless harsh challenges. The buffalo hunt scene had only one chance each day, lasting from 5 to 8 minutes. Kevin Costner, the director and lead actor, recalls, "We prepared everything throughout the week and we had only 8 minutes to shoot the scene. If the buffalo didn't get into the right position, we had to wait until the next day." They mobilized 20 buffalo handlers, 24 drivers, and even helicopters to film from above. One of the trained buffalo, Cody, was an important companion. I will never forget the sight of Cody running toward the camera just because of an Oreo cookie Costner shared. With rapidly changing weather conditions from 100 degrees one day to about 20 degrees on another, each shot became a new challenge. But in those fleeting moments, all the difficulties vanished, and the film captured a magnificent scene for cinema. "Every risk was worth it," Costner proudly said. Even in modern times, the fact that the film managed to create a spectacle like Dances with Wolves is still rare. Normally, special effects would be used as substitutes, which shows just how much Kevin Costner's dedication is worth. 19. A serious accident that almost caused the film to be cancelled. Kevin Costner shocked many by revealing that the film nearly got cancelled due to horrific accidents on set, with many actors and crew members suffering serious injuries that almost halted production. He disclosed, "I remember the first time I realised the situation was getting serious. A violent scene I was involved in caused me to cut my hand. The struggle scene in the film was really intense, and when that injury happened, we had to stop filming immediately for me to get treated. That was the moment we asked ourselves if we could continue." Mike Kenny, one of the medical staff on set, also admitted that he witnessed many serious incidents. "I was the one directly taking care of the injuries during filming. When Kevin got hurt, I knew everyone was worried. No one could have expected the film to encounter such issues." Mike also recalled a time he had to deal with another serious situation. An extra fell off a horse and became paralysed. At that moment, all of us were scared. That was a moment I will never forget because we didn't know if the film could continue. A crew member confirmed I was also terrified when that happened. The buffalo hunt scene was one of the most dangerous scenes, and when I saw Costner fall, I couldn't help but think that this could end very badly. Kevin continued, "Besides my accident, another serious incident also occurred. Dean Semler's daughter, Our cinematographer fell off a horse and broke both her arms. That made me very worried. Everyone in the crew was panicked and didn't know what to do. It was a tense situation I never want to face again. However, these accidents could not stop their passion. Though everyone thought the film could stop right there, I remained confident Kevin Costner shared. We didn't let any accident or challenge stop us from finishing the film. We overcame it and completed it, and that was one of the proudest moments of my career. Even though everything almost failed thanks to the crew's resilient spirit, the film became a cinematic classic. 18. A major mistake in the final scene. When watching Dances with Wolves again, I can't help but remember the emotional final scene between John Dunbar and Stands with a Fist. But one surprise I discovered was a small mistake in the shot. While all the other characters wore warm coats, Kevin Costner only wore a t-shirt. This was not properly corrected and became a small imperfection in an otherwise meticulous film. Kevin Costner shared, I remember very clearly. The weather changed rapidly. There were shooting days that were too hot, then suddenly cold, forcing everyone to change clothes many times. But in the final scene when I wore a t-shirt, everyone else was in warm coats, which proves that the scenes weren't filmed on the same day. This was one of the only mistakes that no one in the crew could fix in time. Costner admitted, "We were very rushed and busy throughout the shooting process. This mistake was a minor oversight, but it didn't take away from the emotions the film conveyed. Even so, the film still retained the appeal and great emotions we wanted to convey." 17. The film crew became wolves for absurd reasons.
Go home, two socks. Bad wolf, bad wolf.
Surely everyone is impressed with Two Socks the wolf that John Dunbar befriends. But do you know the secret behind that scene Kevin Costner shared? Filming with wolves was really a big challenge. Although they were trained, they didn't cooperate easily. The crew had to work hard to train Buck and Teddy, the two wolves that played Two Socks, but these wolves still maintained their wild instincts. Kevin recalls, "There were times when they completely refused to follow our orders. One time the whole crew had to stand under the windy sky howling in unison to lure them into position. We, the filmmakers, all became wolves at that time. This wasn't just a challenge for the actors. The entire crew had to learn how to communicate with the wolves in a very special way." Kevin Costner added, "Everyone felt really weird howling in the field like wolves. But when we heard their howls in return, everyone felt very proud. These efforts eventually paid off, and Two Socks became one of the indispensable characters highlighting the friendship between John Dunbar and the wild world around him." 16. Costner spent $3 million to save the film crew. When Dances with Wolves began shooting, no one could have predicted that the process would be so challenging and dangerous. Kevin Costner shared the tough decision he had to make. From the start, we faced financial difficulties. The film went over the initial budget, and when the funds began running out, I had no choice but to spend $3 million from my own pocket to keep shooting. This truly shocked many people, as they didn't expect someone like Costner to invest such a large sum into a film that Hollywood, at that time, wasn't sure would succeed. He continued, "It was a risky move, but I believed in this film. No matter how difficult it got, I wasn't going to let the crew stop. I saw the potential of Dances with Wolves, and I didn't want to give up. Thanks to his persistence and willingness to bet on the film, Costner helped the crew overcome tough times, and the film later became a cinematic phenomenon." The success of the film, with over $400 million in revenue and 7 Academy Awards, proved that Costner's sacrifice and risk were well worth it. 15. The crazy horse scene was unplanned. I I never stopped laughing when rewatching the scene where the young horse Cisco, the horse Kevin Costner rides, kicks open the stable door and runs straight out into the plains. At that time, I thought it was a humorous moment intentionally placed by the director to create a funny effect. But in reality, it was completely spontaneous and wasn't part of the shooting plan. Kevin Costner shared in the scene at Fort Sedgwick while filming a horseback riding scene, suddenly Cisco got excited and kicked open the door. The camera caught that moment and we decided to keep it. Instead of stopping or reshooting, the crew realized that the horse's action was too real and powerful to pass up. When we saw Cisco charge out, we couldn't deny that it was a vivid moment, bringing the feeling of reality as if it was the natural reaction of a wild horse Costner recalled. That moment became an essential part of the film, highlighting the wildness and freedom of the world John Dunbar was living in. 14. The battle for a director and the unexpected outcome. We all know that Costner was both the director and lead actor of this film. But did you know he took on the director's role only out of necessity? Kevin Costner shared, "When I got the script, I immediately knew it was a very special story and needed to be done correctly. But when I showed it to a few directors, they all wanted to change so many things. One even asked me to cut out the entire Civil War introduction because they thought it wasn't necessary for the film's flow." Costner felt deeply disappointed when he realized these directors couldn't grasp the importance and depth of the story. "I tried to find someone to direct the film, but they didn't understand the story as I did," Costner said. "In the end, Kevin decided to direct it himself. I understood that I was the only one who could preserve the spirit of this film. If I didn't do it, no one else could. I would take on that responsibility," he shared. Though this decision was somewhat risky, it helped Dances with Wolves achieve a strong vision preserving authenticity and deep emotion. The film later not only achieved huge success, but also helped Kevin Costner prove his directing ability, opening a new chapter in his career. Doris Leader. Charge had to play 2 roles in the film. One of the most important factors that helped Dances with Wolves achieve authenticity and depth in portraying the Lakota Sioux culture was the participation of Doris Leader Charge. Not only was she an expert linguist, but Doris was also given an important acting role in the film. Kevin Costner invited Doris Leader Charge, a Lakota language instructor at Sintigleska University, to help the cast speak Lakota accurately. Doris, who had never worked with a film script before, accepted the offer and took on this vital role. In just 3 weeks, she completed the task of translating the entire script into Lakota, which was a highly difficult and challenging job. Doris shared, "That was my first time working with a film script, but I felt responsible for ensuring the accuracy of the pronunciation and meaning of each word." Doris's efforts not only involved training the actors, but also participating directly in the film as Pretty Shield, the wife of 10 bears. Her role was one of the key highlights, helping the audience appreciate the strength and beauty of the Lakota women. Kevin Costner shared Doris's involvement was an indispensable part in maintaining the authenticity of the film, not just in language, but in how the characters were portrayed. Doris's dual roles as a language coach and actress helped enhance the realism of the film and honoured the culture of the Lakota Sioux. 12. Stands with a Fist was criticised as one-dimensional. The character Stands with a Fist, played by Mary McDonnell, was criticised by many for being seen as a white princess saving the natives, a stereotype too familiar in Hollywood films. Mary McDonnell shared, "At first, I was very concerned about playing such a character, but I understood that Stands with a Fist wasn't just a saviour character, but a woman with a complicated past who had to face her own psychological challenges." However, when the film was released, the character of Stands with a Fist became an indispensable part of the emotional arc of Dances with Wolves. Kevin Costner said, "She's not a model to save anyone. She is the one who connects John Dunbar's world to that of the Lakota. Her story reflects the relationship between cultures. Mary McDonnell performed excellently, showing not only the inner struggles of her character, but also making her an essential part of the love story between her and Dunbar. She received an Oscar nomination for her outstanding performance, proving that even though her character was initially underrated, she truly touched the hearts of the audience. 11. The White Saviour controversy. Despite the tremendous success of Dances with Wolves, the film still faced controversy from some viewers and critics regarding the white saviour issue. Kevin Costner didn't hide his disappointment when sharing, "I understand that this story might make some people think that John Dunbar is a white saviour model. But in reality, I wanted to tell a story about connection, friendship, and mutual respect between cultures." Although Stands with a Fist, played by Mary McDonnell, is an important character in the film, the fact that she is a white woman raised by the Lakota and married to Dunbar still created opposition. Kevin Costner rebutted, "This is not a story about saving the natives, but about respecting culture and mutual understanding." However, despite the controversy, Dances with Wolves became a massive success and had a far-reaching impact, helping expand the audience's perspective on the history and culture of the Lakota people. 10. Costner became an honorary member of the Sioux tribe. You'll be surprised to know that after the film, Kevin Costner received not only praise for his directing and acting career, but also a warm reception from the Sioux tribe. After the film depicted the Lakota Sioux culture so authentically and respectfully, the tribe decided to place Costner in a very special position. Kevin Costner shared, "When I met with the elders of the Sioux tribe, they gave me a special initiation ceremony. I will never forget the feeling when they tied eagle feathers in my hair and gave me a traditional ceremonial blanket." This was a great honour for Costner, as not only was he a director, but he had also become a part of the culture he had honoured in the film. However, the relationship between Costner and the Sioux tribe became complicated in later years. When he purchased land in Black Hills, an area sacred to the Sioux, and planned to build a resort, this project met strong opposition from the tribe. Costner eventually had to cancel the plan in 2013 after widespread protests from the Sioux community. This caused conflicts in his relationship with the tribe, although the moments of honour from Dances with Wolves remain a cherished memory. 9. Graham Greene put Bologna in his shoes to play an old man. One of the interesting and quirky details in the filming of Dances with Wolves was how Graham Greene, who played Kicking Bird, created realistic steps for his character. Greene explained, "I had to make Kicking Bird walk like an old man, someone bearing a heavy responsibility and the weight of age." To achieve this, Greene came up with a quirky but highly effective trick. He placed slices of bologna in his shoes every day before filming. "These slices made my steps more difficult and limping," Greene said. This method helped him create a natural gait that suited the character without having to overact. Costner shared, "I couldn't imagine Greene using such a trick to bring authenticity to the character, but it really worked." As a result, Greene was nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, proving that even small quirky details can contribute to an outstanding performance. In real life, Greene was completely different from Kicking Bird. He was very energetic, cheerful, and humorous, in stark contrast to the calm and reflective character in the film. Greene loved sports, showing the interesting difference between him and his character, and his excellent performance in the film truly captured the essence of the character, making everyone feel immersed in it. 8. Dances with Wolves helped Orion Pictures revive. Before Dances with Wolves was released, Orion Pictures was facing serious financial difficulties. The company had gone through a series of failures and unsuccessful films, putting its finances into a crisis. At that point, Orion Pictures was nearly bankrupt. However, Dances with Wolves changed everything. The film not only created a huge sensation at the box office, but also brought Orion over $400 million USD and 7 Academy Awards, helping the company regain its reputation and survive through the tough period. Kevin Costner shared, "When the film succeeded, Orion saw the light at the end of the tunnel. It was a lifeline for them in a critical time. However, even with this success, it wasn't enough to save Orion's financial situation." Despite the leap forward with Dances with Wolves in 1991, Orion still had to declare bankruptcy. Nevertheless, the film left a lasting impact not only with the audience, but also helped Orion Pictures maintain a small part of its reputation in the film industry before the company officially collapsed. 7. The book was rejected over 30 times. Before becoming a phenomenon, Dances with Wolves had a very difficult journey. Michael Blake, the author of the original novel, faced many rejections when he submitted his manuscript to publishers. Blake shared, "I sent my manuscript to over 30 publishers, but they all rejected it. They didn't believe in a book about a white soldier living with the Lakota." Sometimes, Blake even had to wash dishes to make a living while continuing to write. But after over 30 rejections, a small publisher finally agreed to publish the book. Blake shared, "It was an incredibly happy feeling, but also full of challenges because I knew I had only one chance to prove the worth of this book." The book was eventually well received, and from there, Costner bought the rights to adapt it into a beloved film worldwide. 6. Costumes made from authentic materials. When talking about Dances with Wolves, one of the standout features is the authenticity in every detail, especially the costumes. The costume designers not only recreated the traditional clothing style of the Lakota Sioux, but also used real materials such as animal hides, buffalo fur, and traditional handcrafted items. Costner shared, "We wanted the film to be not just an artistic work, but also a living history. Particularly, some of the actors wore costumes made from heirlooms, items passed down through generations in the Sioux community. Some of the costumes were crafted meticulously and accurately, showing deep respect for the culture of the natives." Mary McDonnell, who played Stands with a Fist, recalled, "Wearing these costumes felt very special. They weren't just costumes, they were symbols of a culture I wanted to honour. These details not only enhanced the film's realism, but also made the audience feel the sincerity and respect the crew had for the Lakota Sioux." 5. Male actors speaking Lakota-like women. During the filming of Dances with Wolves, one of the amusing incidents was related to the Lakota language, especially when male actors spoke Lakota without distinguishing between male and female tones, which is an important aspect of the language. Lakota is a language with a clear distinction between male and female speech patterns, and this affects the meaning of each word. However, when the male actors learnt their lines, they didn't pay attention to this difference, making their lines sound quite strange and sometimes humorous to the natives watching the film. Russell Means, a Lakota speaker, shared, "When I watched the film with my Lakota friends, we couldn't stop laughing because the male actors were speaking Lakota with a female voice. It was really a funny incident. However, this did not take away from the respect the film showed for the Lakota language and culture. This incident actually added to the natural and amusing aspect of the film, reflecting that even when trying their best, there are small imperfections, but that's part of the authenticity in bringing the Lakota language and culture closer to the global audience." 4. The film was called Kevin's Gate. At the beginning of filming, Dances with Wolves faced many difficulties, from going over budget to Hollywood's skepticism. Kevin Costner admitted, "From the beginning, the film was seen as a risky gamble. Critics and many people in the industry called it Kevin's Gate, implying a disastrous failure like Heaven's Gate. This made me really sad because people didn't understand the importance of the story. The film was not expected to succeed, but Costner was determined to continue despite all the opposition." He shared, "No matter how difficult the film was, I believed in it. I wanted to tell a different story, one that honoured the Lakota culture." After the film was released and exceeded all expectations, Kevin Costner proved that Hollywood was wrong in underestimating this project. With 7 Academy Awards and over $400 million in revenue, Dances with Wolves became a phenomenon, marking a turning point in Costner's career. 3. Museum-quality props. One of the key elements that contributed to the success of Dances with Wolves was the meticulous attention to detail in props and settings. Orion Pictures allocated a significant budget to ensure that the props in the film were of the highest authenticity, as if they were preserved in museums. Kevin Costner recalled, "We didn't just want to build a historical set, we wanted to recreate a complete world where the Lakota Sioux could live and work authentically." For example, Major Fambro's office, a character played by Donald Sutherland, was handcrafted in Los Angeles and then shipped to South Dakota. The paintings, tools and decorations in the Lakota Sioux village were all based on traditional designs, painted and crafted by experienced artisans. Costner said, "These weren't just props to serve as the background. They were tools to tell the story, to make the viewers feel as if they were living in that era." These props not only gave the film artistic value, but also tremendous historical significance. 2. The sequel that never became a film. When Dances with Wolves achieved great success, Michael Blake, the author of the original novel, wrote a sequel titled The Holy Road, continuing the story of John Dunbar and Stands with a Fist. However, despite serious discussions about adapting The Holy Road into a film, Kevin Costner refused to participate both as an actor and director. Costner explained the film Dances with Wolves had completed its story. "I didn't think a sequel would add anything new. Therefore, the studios did not pursue the project, even though The Holy Road still garnered interest from some viewers." Costner continued, "I felt like this film had completed its journey, and I didn't want to break the conclusion we had created. As a result, Dances with Wolves remains an independent work with no sequel, even though the story of John Dunbar and the beloved characters continues to live on in the hearts of viewers." 1. The film's soundtrack was loved by the Pope. One of the most memorable and interesting details related to Dances with Wolves is its soundtrack by John Barry, a work that not only moved the hearts of audiences but was also loved by Pope John Paul II. Kevin Costner shared, "We knew the soundtrack was very important, but when the Pope expressed his love for it, we truly felt honoured. Typically, the Pope doesn't offer opinions on artistic works, but with John Barry's soundtrack, Dances with Wolves' music transcended being a mere part of the film." Pope John Paul II admitted that he was deeply moved by the soundtrack's melodies, a testament to the sacredness and finesse that the music brought. This not only affirmed the artistic value of the film, but also proved the spiritual power of Dances with Wolves transcending cultural and religious boundaries. Thank you all for watching the video. I hope the secrets behind Dances with Wolves have given you some interesting and surprising insights into the film. Which detail impressed you the most in the video? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss any exciting videos in the future. See you in the next video.